Hello and welcome back to another episode of Uru Complete Chronicles. We're back here in... I forgot the name again. If I even never knew it really. I don't know if that was the name in the book. We're back in this park. We just found the hand symbol here. We're at 3 already for this age. But we haven't really found any puzzle things. We have found the exit though. Which obviously is not going to open because we only have 3 of the 4 hand thingies. But that was hard to find in the previous 2 ages, but not in this one. I wonder if this is like graffiti or if this is... I don't know. I mean, it's not like... Yeah, I was going to say, or if it's intentional, but it's not like graffiti is an accident. It's just not, you know, usually... There's something moving up there. There are living things here. I haven't seen very many living things. It looks like a weird spider creature and I don't like it. Also, it's like about to storm. Are those bees? Oh, it looks like a scorpion now. That's even worse. It is raining now. Wow. Proper thunderstorm. Great. Very loud too. Okay. Pretty intense, man. Wow. That was actually pretty impressive rain and stuff. Considering the age of the game, it looked and felt and sounded very real. As something on the ground. Shomat's story. Not sure what that means. 132 sheets of courage ruled paper. That's a lot of pages. The story of Shomat, taken from book 43C. We have yet to name it. Translation by Nick. First draft. At the age of 121, Shomat had resided in his Palace of the Kings for 20 years. Though the palace had taken 45 years to construct, new additions had been added every year, Shomat was still not pleased with all that surrounded him. His palace was larger than any structure in the city, and the gardens of his palace were more beautiful than any other living plants that the people had ever known. But Shomat demanded more from those who created his home and his gardens. Shomat sent messengers demanding that Lamash, the head... This word seems to define some kind of leader, yeah, makes sense, of the servants, although they never defined them as servants, have to ask Dr. Watson, of his palace, come to his gardens immediately, and Lamash obeyed. Yes, my king, what is it that you require of me? Do you see these bulbs of orange and leaves of brown that surround me? Of course, my king, they are unlike any that dwell in this cavern. Do you see the intricate stone that surrounds me? Asked Shomat. Of course, again, there's none like them in the cavern. And Shomat suddenly became angry, cursing at his servants. Not really servants, but it'll have to do. And screaming at those in his presence. Who do you think that I am? Do you think I have never used the books to see the beauty that lies outside this cavern? I have written these books myself, even while you have seen me trained by the Grand Master. And yet you act as though I should be pleased at the beauty that now surrounds me, beauty that comes only from this cavern of no light, no warmth, and no color. Do you think stone and darkness are all that I require? Who do you think that I am? My king, what is it that you ask of me? Bring to me Grandmaster Kenry. Together you will work. Work in a writing sense? With him and create for me real beauty. Roaring water, colors beyond imagination, living creations, not stone. These are the gardens that I demand. Now go and bring them to me. And so Lamesh went to Kenry, Grandmaster of the Guild of Writers, and together they created an age of beauty that was beyond that which any man had seen before. And together they brought their king to the age, 8 months. These are the months after his request had been made. Shomat was pleased with all that he saw, broad leaves of green and yellow flowers of every color. Leaves of green and yellow, flowers of every color, and roaring waters of blue and turquoise, like the most colorful stones of the knee. And he promoted Lamesh, as he was already ahead. I'm not sure about his promotion, but the word is fairly clear, and made Kenry his most prized grandmaster in all of the knee. Shomat spent every day on his new age, and he asked for more of them, and he asked his architects to provide structures on these ages. And while this happened, Shomat's brothers continued to grow more jealous, and their anger turned to rage. They had not been invited to live in the palace of their brother, and now the multitudes of common citizens were invited to the gardens of Shomat. Never once were they allowed to visit, and their hearts burned towards their king and brother. So it was that Shomat was sitting alone in his garden age when two creatures approached him. Though they resembled men, they walked on their arms and legs and moved quickly. Shomat was frightened upon seeing the creatures and immediately called for his guards. The creatures ran from the guards, but Shomat ordered his guards to follow them, and the guards obeyed. It was not until the next day that they returned. They claimed they had seen a city with hundreds of these creatures living in it, conversing with one another and organizing armies. These armies lived inside of the garden age of Shomat, and Shomat was very afraid. Shomat ordered the man who had seen the village to be put in prison. Not sure if book or physical prison, or what they saw, and he called his most trusted advisor, Lamesh, to his residence in the city. Upon hearing of the creatures and their organization, Lamesh too was frightened. We have no choice but to burn the book, Lamesh recommended. You know this age is not ours if it is already inhabited. You know the rules of our writing, and of our books, and of our people. But Shomat's heart was not moved by the words of Lamesh, and he grew more angry and enraged. The world was created by me, for me. If there are others who exist, they will have to be killed. It is the knee now. So Shomat ordered for his brothers to be brought into his palace, and he informed them of his dilemma. Shomat asked his brothers if they would kill those who lived on his garden ages, and he bribed them with talk of power and authority. And so they agreed, even though they hated their brother. And the brothers of Shomat traveled to the age and went to the creatures to destroy them. But in talking with the creatures, they became convinced that the creatures should not be killed, but instead they should be used to destroy their brother. And so they devised a plan to kill their brother, the king. While Shomat waited in his palace in the city, his brothers appeared to him. We have finished, they announced. The creatures are all dead. Shomat was pleased to hear such words from his brothers, and on the outside he showed love to them. My brothers, I have done much wrong to you. There have been many times that I have not treated you like even those who work in my palace, and I am sorry for these actions. But today you have proven that you do not hold anger like I do. You are better than me. You have shown me favor, and so I ask you to accept what I have to offer you. Please accept this gift. And Shomat gave his brothers a linking book. Its pages were filled with descriptions of beauty and life, like Shomat's own garden age. And it will be kept here in this palace where you will live now. Filled with pleasure and forgetting their hate for Shomat, his brothers went to the age quickly, and it was there that they died. Thinking that they had fooled their brother, Shomat burned the book in his own fire, forever erasing his brothers and their deceit from his mind. And Shomat ordered the Grand Master to change his garden age so that those who lived there would die, and Kenry obeyed the king, even though he knew it was wrong, and his life was filled with turmoil until he died. But Shomat, though he Did what was wrong, continued to live and pursue all that he wanted. Well, that was a great story. The story continues, but it seemed a good point to stop. I'd like to go over this a few more times with some better translators, maybe even Dr. Watson. I filled in a lot of words as best as I could for now. And the moral of the story, do bad things and you'll get rewarded with a rich life while everyone around you lives in turmoil. That's the moral of this story, at least. Alright, moving on. No comeuppance at the end. These scorpion things are making me nervous. I don't know if they'll attack me. It feels like they should. Where's this going? That looks like the other place again. It is basically the other place again. Okay. Yeah, this is where we linked in. Okay. Just a short adventure, a short trip to the Garden Age. It's pretty good, pretty good. It looks like torches. I don't know. Can I like... No. Up into the dark cave we go. It's just pitch black for me though, so I don't know if I'm still moving. Not sure if I'm moving. Wait, what? How did I get turned around? Maybe I can like bring a torch or something? Because these things look like torches to me, at least. Especially these ones. But it's not like there's inventory, so I don't know. Am I stuck now? Come on. No. Not quite, I guess. Now they don't look like torches. I don't know what they are. That might not have been a good idea, actually. Because it's going to be annoying to link back to where we just were, but... Okay, so people have been here. Like, human people, not just the knee. Looks like there are lots and lots of books here. It's just like, where am I? Wait, can I can't move these, right? No. Oh no, I can. Kind of. Very glitchy, but I can. So this is that city again that I keep getting teleported in to, but then I can never do anything. And this looks like exactly that again. It's a frisbee. The manhole. Marriage. There's too much lore here. I don't think I can read all of that on camera. If all of these books are... Well, okay, this is only a couple of pages. These two I could do, I guess. Pregnancy. That's short too. Class system. Okay, Okay, yeah, these are not too bad. We can probably read them if you want to. Especially if you want to right now. Check this out. I know the DRC doesn't want us to touch these, but I bet Watson would like to know how these register with the doors too. It makes no sense. And don't lose it. I could barely get it off the floor, and when I did, it was pretty scary. Maybe the weirdest thing is that when I went back later, the cloth I got this piece from was intact again. Nick. So I can actually touch it. Where the heck is my book? And why did someone take it in the first place? Nick. Matthew. The last batch of papers you sent were very interesting since you did such a good job. I've got another list I'd like you to divvy up to the team. How you do it is up to you. First, I'd like some more information on family life, ceremonies, etc. Anything related to birth, marriage, cultural events. I know we've got a bit of source material for this, so anything you get would be helpful. I think we've gathered quite a bit on science and technology and not enough on the personal lives of these people. We have quite a bit of guild information, but gathering that all up into one tidy area would be nice. The far is still an obvious area where we are lacking. I'm not sure I can help you with research material, but given the latest information we are getting at some time, we're going to have to dig into this. I recommend assigning someone the sore task of the far. Continue on with the kings. A short synopsis of all the kings would be helpful following the form you started with the last batch. We still have religious writings we need to translate. These are going to be the most difficult, but I think they can give us large amounts of helpful information. We have a stack of journals from various Denis residences, etc., not to mention ages. I think that will be more than enough for now. Again, thank your team and tell them they are doing great work. Dr. Watson. The King Karath. Okay. So these are all very short. I want to have an idea of how much reading I would have to do to read them all. And so far it's not terrible. It's gonna take a bit, but it's not horrible. There are 3 more here though. This could be long. That's not too bad, but it's, big font size. So these are just 3 different kings, I think. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I want to read right now. But then again, coming back here could also be annoying. So maybe I should. What's back here? Just a nice view. Wait, what's down? Is that? No, it's not a balcony I've been on, right? I don't remember this view. What's the screenshot key again? I have no idea. This works though, for sure. How long is the episode? 18 and a half. Okay, we have time. Am I just gonna spend the rest of this reading? Guess so. Let's start here. King Rinaref. Rinaref was born in 207 BE before Earth on Garternay? I don't know. He was accepted into the Guild of Writers at the age of 5 as that age, and as the years passed, quickly became one of the finest writers that the Ronay had ever seen. Certain records go as far as stating that Rinaref was unsurpassed in skill by any other writer of the day. By the time he was 90, Rinaref had achieved the rank of Guildmaster and was well on his way to become the Grand Master. However, due to personal convictions, he never achieved that rank. Rinaref had long been a challenger of the views of the Guild of Writers as well as the king himself. Rinaref was apparently very concerned with the society's views pertaining to the purpose of writing and the challenge of acting responsibly with the great gift given to us by Yahweh. Around 73 BE, Rinaref was asked by the Grand Master to write a descriptive book to a questionable age, at least in the eyes of Rinaref. He perceived the age being used to house an uncivilized race that could be used for the purposes of the Rhone. Thus, Rinaref refused to carry out the command from his grandmaster, and after much debating, was apparently dismissed from the Guild of Writers. Some records do point to Rinaref willfully excusing himself from the guild, although regardless of how he left, much of the society found the dismissal unfair, and some even went so far as to call it detrimental to society. Around 59 BE, the fact that Gardane would not be able to serve the Rhone as a home for much longer. What? The fact that Gardane would not be able to serve the Rhone as a home for much longer was confirmed, and the information made public. Rinaref had long known of the state of Gardane, and from the time of his dismissal had apparently been working on an age that he felt would be a good place to live for those who wished to follow him. According to various journals, Rinaref managed to attract a few thousand Rhone and convinced them to follow him in the ways that he felt important and to the age that he had written. The king allowed Rinaref to split away from the Rhone along with a few other smaller groups, while the majority of Rhone left Gardane to a new home called Terani, I don't know. Rinaref took his group to Earth, where he established the Dani, meaning new beginning. Rinaref was a strong leader, immediately establishing himself as king and reigning for 120 years until his death. I didn't mean to click there. Obviously, those who followed Rinaref to Dani already respected him enough to separate themselves from their family and friends, and thus records point to very few debates or disagreements in the society under the reign of Rinaref. As had always been the case with the Rhone, a group of surveyors was sent to Dani before the group officially moved there to establish the Great Zero and the line emanating from it. A monument was built on the Great Zero in the year 0 BE. Unlike previous occasions, Rinaref established the line of the Great Zero as set apart for holy buildings without authorization by the reigning king. Construction was forbidden. Though it's never stated directly, records strongly imply that it was Rinaref who chose where the city would be established. He seemed to base his decision on two factors, which probably made the decision an easy one. First was the line of the Great Zero. It seemed an obvious spot to base a city, with the most important religious structures being directly on the line and the rest of the city surrounding its center. The second factor was a group of waterfalls that flowed from the ceiling of the cavern to an area adjacent to the line of the Great Zero. The fresh-flowing water was perfect for drinking. A new writers' guild, with fairly different rules than the one that had existed on Gardane, was constructed almost immediately. 8. Is that DE? Shouldn't it be AE? I don't know. Under the direction of Rinaref by the year 100, Rinaref had directed the recreation of the 18 major guilds. The guilds were dedicated to Yahweh on the day of the circle, a celebration not only of the completion of the major guilds, but a celebration of new guilds which Rinaref believed were healthier than those that existed in Gardane. Guilds that have been established to please Yahweh and not themselves, Rinaref said. Certain records point to the guilds in Gardane becoming extremely competitive with one another and focusing more upon having the best facility than carrying out their duty to Yahweh and the people. In an effort to curb that kind of competition, Rinaref implemented a list of restrictions upon guild construction. The restrictions included guidelines pertaining to placement facing the Great Zero, size, shape, and minor visual guidelines. Though one of Rinaref's top priorities was construction of a temple, there were disagreements as to specifics, causing numerous delays in the finalization of the construction plans. Eventually, construction was started in 48 DE, and the temple was completed in 63. Known as the Regaltovorum. I have no idea. The temple to Yahweh was meant as a place of worship, as well as a reminder of the prophesied great king who would come to them soon. Rinaref also made it a priority to install massive fans that would supply the cavern with fresh air. Natural openings existed, but it was quickly discovered that they did not supply ample circulation for the cavern. As a result, massive shafts and fans were built and installed over a 30-year period between 84 and 114. It should be noted that numerous records point to a small group of the Danee disappearing upon completion of the fans. It is most often assumed that they remained on the surface of Earth to live. Throughout his reign, records point to multiple occasions on which Rhinareth refused to build a palace for himself. Instead, he lived in a fairly basic home, similar in fashion to most of his fellow citizens, and made it especially clear that until Yavo had a new home, he could not allow himself one. Although even after the temple was completed, Rhinareth refused to build a palace, always focusing more on the religious and government sides. Rhinareth's own philosophy centered on the fact that it was much easier to focus on Yavo and his wishes when circumstances were difficult and struggles more abundant. It was strongly believed that Rhinareth's refusal to build a palace was an expression of that philosophy. In 120, Rhinareth died of apparent heart complications. He was 327 years old. Though he had married, he left no children. As a result, he chose one of his apprentices named Eilish to succeed him. And then there are the asterisks that I just ignored. So the first one, taken from the memoirs of Eilish from the Oath of the New Guild of Writers written by Rhinareth. Taken from the journals of Grandmaster Nagin of the Guild of Legislators, Gardane's sun was dying and would eventually cause a rapid decrease in temperature, making it an inhabitable age. So that's why he left. The Great Sea herself was usually based on a prominent natural landmark within an age. From the Great Zero line was drawn usually towards magnetic north to aid in navigation, construction, etc. It should be noted that the 18 major guilds of the Danee were not necessarily the same as the 18 that had existed on Gardane. In fact, they were probably much different. There is no information that details the major guilds of Gardane. We do know that the guilds were meant to be flexible and serve the people and the needs of their time. Taken from a transcript of Rhinareth's speech on the first day of the circle, the prophetical work, the Regalta War of Urpa, a book Rhinareth believed strongly in, dealt with numerous prophecies of a great king who would be sent by Yahweh to guide the people. And that's it for this one. These are the longer ones. That's why I started here, but man. Let's read this one. King Shomat. Shomat took the throne in the year 300. Okay, is the Danee era. Okay. At the age of 44, up to the point of his coronation, he had been a member of the Guild of Writers. He continued his study of the art for private matters for a number of years after his coronation. It was a lack of proper guild instruction that most Danee historians attribute to the distorted views Shomat later took on. It was an up and down reign, partly due to a tremendous tension that seemed to exist between himself and his older brothers. Both of the brothers, though they had little respect, did everything in their power to make Shomat's reign tumultuous. Okay, one of the first actions Shomat ordered was construction of a palace. When it was completed in 347 DE, Shomat moved in with his family, although his brothers refused and maintained their own homes. Such an act was regarded as tremendous disrespect to a family and only served to widen the gap between Shomat and his brothers. Furthering tensions not only within Shomat's family but within the culture as well was the lavishness of the palace. Ornate gardens were present inside the physical grounds, and garden ages were written as well, linking from within the palace. Rumors abounded that some of these garden ages were even wiped of their inhabitants in order to provide Shomat with relaxation. Whether true or not, Shomat often spoke publicly of the need for ages to serve the Danee. This was a first for the society and a direct contradiction to what the guilds taught. The Danee were to serve the ages. It seems that eventually the tension became too much. Some say it drove Shomat mad. In 387 DE, both his brothers disappeared and were never found again. Well, yeah, he killed them. We read about that just a couple of minutes ago. It was commonly presumed that Shomat wrote a death book, to which both of his brothers were linked into, although it could never be proven. Regardless, it was one of the first major challenges for the people of the Danee, and they reacted quickly. Prophetess was supplied to Shomat in 400 DE in an attempt to guide him in the ways of Yahweh. For the 155 remaining years of his reign, it seems that most people believe Shomat became a better king. The prophetess became an excellent mentor for Shomat and eventually convinced him to choose the son of one of his close friends as the heir to the throne. His own children were admittedly out of control. As it turns out, it was the bloodline of that child that led to the birth of the great king years later. Shomat died of natural causes at the age of 299. Women were generally seen as much better communicators with Yavo than men. As a result, most prophets were women. The choosing of prophetesses as guides for the kings started with Shomat and became tradition for all the remaining kings of Dani. Usually up to the king as to which prophet or prophetess he would seek for wisdom. Sure. Some good lore, but I've all this reading, it's not easy on my voice. So I'm gonna end this episode here, which means we'll have to link back in here to finish reading. We need to read this one, the one with the scar. And it has a significant amount of pages. And then we'll move on to the marriage and birth and whatever the last one was, and then the other kings over there. Whatever this was. More king stuff. And then hopefully we'll be able to move on. Is actually a link out of here? No, I think I have to go back to my realtor, right? Pretty sure. But yeah, that's it for today. Bit of an uneventful episode, but still, we learned things about the Dani culture and kings and stuff, which is interesting in its own way. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.